What was alarming to me was the consistent behavior of people inside Robert's camp that were bringing underage girls around with fake IDs and then getting a payment settlement. And I have documentation, as you saw in the videos, of all this inside corruption. There was an enterprise going on, but it was to the exclusion of Robert because they were capitalizing on his lack of education, on his maniacal work ethic, on the fact that he, I don't want to say he's illiterate because I don't like that negative connotation, but he does have compromised reading and learning skills. He has said that. So that it's easy for someone to take advantage of you.
Welcome back. That was fascinating, right? An inside view of R. Kelly's world. And that's what this trial is all about. The allegation is he's running a criminal enterprise to sexually abuse young women and underage girls. And that was Sharron Winbush. Interesting. She's saying, yeah, there was an enterprise, but it was to the exclusion of R. Kelly, Robert, as they call him. Fascinating. R. Kelly back in court today, day 4. Take a look. No cameras. Thank Chief Justice Roberts for that. Not allowing cameras in federal court, but there's R. Kelly and a lot.
Right. So I also understand by being there, you had the chance to talk with one of R. Kelly's former employees, Sharron Winbush. What exactly did she have to share with you?
This is a former employee, someone who says that she was a nutritionist for Robert Kelly back starting in the late 90s and onward. But she is not someone who's involved in this case. She's not going to be taking the stand as a former employee, but she's a staunch supporter of the singer. She talked to us over the phone. Here's what she had to say about why she started to launch a campaign to support the defendant, and it all happened after she watched the Surviving R. Kelly Lifetime docuseries. Take a listen.
What was alarming to me was the consistent behavior of people inside Robert's camp that were bringing underage girls around with fake IDs and then getting a payment settlement. And I have documentation, as you saw in the videos, of all this inside corruption. There was an enterprise going on, but it was to the exclusion of Robert because they were capitalizing on his lack of education, on his maniacal work ethic, on the fact that he, I don't want to say he's illiterate because I don't like that negative connotation, but he does have compromised reading and learning skills. He has said that. So that it's easy for someone to take advantage of you.
Now, Sharron Winbush also had a lot to say about what it was like inside the home, because she said she cooked meals for him there. She knows that there was always food available, but that he had a lot of guests and he had to take care of a lot of people. So we know we've been hearing a lot about the different rules that the people who were in a relationship with Kelly had to be subjected to. Here was her take on the alleged victims who have taken the stand so far in this case.
Stop and ask yourself, how is it all these females came around? Usually to get to him, you have to know somebody around him. They're brought in by a person that works for him. They have fake ID. And then there's a settlement, and they're splitting the money. You heard with Geronda Pace, she said the guy Bubba brought her in, and she had to pay Bubba $4,000 of her settlement in repeated payments. We know of case after case after case of that, where people were brought in, where it's known that Robert asked for ID. It's known that people were carded when they came around, not once, but twice. They had to sign confidentiality agreements. He's a rock star, living a rock star life, enjoying the rock star privileges of, sex, drugs, rock and roll. That's what the moniker is for the music industry. There's no law against that.
Prosecutors, of course, of the position that there is a law against it because of how repeated it was in nature and that there was a transporting of these people to different states, to Florida, to California, to Connecticut, even Jane Doe number 5 on the stand right now, talking about all of the different places she went with the defendant, including being on tour with him. She's also testifying about the rules, the ones that she says that the defendant imposed about what she could wear. It had to be baggy, that she couldn't use the bathroom, that she could not eat without getting explicit permission from him. Winbush weighed in on that from her perspective of being inside the family home.
Let me explain. Every room in Robert's house has a bathroom in it and has a small refrigerator. They're like suites at the Four Seasons. You know, when people hear room, they think of something the size of a closet. He didn't live on that lifestyle. This is a multimillionaire who lived in the 1% of the 1% lifestyle. So all bedrooms were equivalent to a suite at the Four Seasons. And they all had bathrooms in them. They all had small refrigerators in them. The reason Robert, he didn't lock them in the room. He would ask them to go to the room or stay in the room because he had meetings in his home. He did not want people hearing sensitive information. If you're talking about contracts with Michael Jackson, an album with Jay-Z, doing a song with Celine Dion, working with Twista, or whoever it is that he's doing music with, you don't want random people. He didn't even want his wife to hear those things because business is separate from personal.
We're hearing some of that.
But Julia, the interview with Sharron Winbush, I think certainly well describes and indicates, it just is a great example of, right? You've got the victims on one side and then you've got the supporters of R. Kelly on the other. I must ask, she did mention in the interview that you had with her that he did not lock them in the room. Has there been any specific testimony yet indicating that they were in fact locked in the room, not just controlled, not allowed to leave, but rather actually locked in the room?